Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Art of the Game over here at Cabot Crossing. And on the show, we game masters like to combine our experiences to share tips, tricks, and do a little debating about tabletop role-playing games. A little hook, a little uppercut. And today we're going to do a response to a Dungeon Craft episode where they're talking about different D&D rules. The title is D&D Rules I Hate and one unpopular one I actually like. So we're going to talk a little bit about those and see if we agree or disagree on stuff. Cool, guys? So how you want to do this? We just want to go down the list, start with the first one they talked about?
Yeah, right there.
Probably. And Greg took the initiative of writing them down for us after I wrote them down. Tax of opportunity. I think the points made are valid on both sides in that video. Like after I listened to it, I actually thought it was like when I did my own game and I had kept it. A lot of the things I kept entirely because that's you're kind of playing to an audience with my own RPG, right? So you want to keep things relatively familiar. Mm-hmm. But I did overhaul many aspects of the combat system, and after much of the video, I was like, oh right, I could have just dropped a tax opportunity because it makes sense. Because it is kind of annoying when an enemy tries to escape and they just can't because the game mechanics are specifically designed to prevent someone from escaping.
Yeah. I actually like, I don't know who did it, but fighters are related, other type classes can get a talent or maybe just come with it at a certain level that they just get it, right? Because they're trained in it. They can do that type of thing. But in general, it doesn't exist, which I kind of like. You can get it as an option.
But also from the argument that I've used before of like game mechanics create opportunity for class features and abilities, right? Yeah. And as a game mechanic, you can get dozens and dozens of interesting class features out of it. Like that feat where you hit somebody when they try to escape, even if they disengage, they can't escape.
Sentry, yeah.
And that's
Sentry.
Yeah,
I think
Sentinel. It was called Sentinel.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a really fun. There's some fun commentary on that with the animated spellbook.
Yeah, but in general, I've played systems that you use it and don't use it, and the ones that I actually haven't found too much of a difference. People like to say, "Oh, you'll have so much more movement if you don't have it." I found it's not exactly true because usually people at the end of the day they go up and they attack. They don't have things that make them move around the combat in a way that would cause so many attacks of opportunity, I haven't found a huge difference with or without it, which makes me think maybe better without it unless you're specialized, because less rules when they don't add much is always better to me.
But Nimble doesn't have it, right?
Or Nimble doesn't have it, but I think you can get it.
You could take an action if you want to do it whenever somebody's moving away from you.
Well, in playing Palladium, that those rules just simply don't exist, and they have another game mechanic that they have
no
instead.
Alcohol.
Sorry, what was that?
Oh no, Rifts is the right. Oh, you said Palladium. Never mind.
Well, Palladium's the publisher, and like all their games use the same basic rule set. But like attacks opportunity rules simply don't exist unless you happen to have there are like things you can, like certain martial art forms might have something like it, and I don't know if there's a rule or not, but we do allow people to just use one of their attacks to hit somebody who's moving past them if they want to. It's very fluid, so you can like do teamwork maneuvers more easily than in D&D.
Yeah,
but like in general, that sort of thing really, like trying to escape a fight generally comes down to who's faster and has the higher speed stat and potentially endurance to see if you have the stamina to get away. And so there isn't like you break away and automatically are hit. They're really that isn't like a standard part of the game necessarily.
It's fun. Go ahead.
Yeah. The only reason I sometimes like it is just because if you have a player or a monster, I guess, that just wants to like run by and hit you and keep running and stuff, it can get kind of annoying. If they do it a lot.
Yeah, it's a samurai move.
I actually found those rules to be a little bit troublesome at first because, like, I remember I was looking at the Star Wars RPG and they were describing how that worked, and then it's like, but you could just go around them, and it doesn't affect your movement that much. So it's like it's very specific in how it applies.
Yeah.
Well, that's why a lot of people don't like to use flanking in D&D because it's so easy to flank because you don't get any penalty to move around an opponent. So why not move around and be back to back? So as long as there's two or more of you, you can flank.
I've actually always liked flanking, and I think in most of my games, I'm very loosey-goosey with it. You don't actually have to be on opposite sides and stuff.
Same.
But because if you're fighting two opponents, I usually don't like to hyper focus on realism in general. But if you're fighting two opponents, it's next level difficult compared to fighting one opponent, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't mind it.
Not if you're John Wick.
That's I didn't think about that. That's true.
Well, it kind of gets back to that also, that statement of like, it's very hard to create a set of rules in an RPG system that satisfies everyone and is true to what expectations real life would be. And any attempt to do that pretty much fails, or it doesn't make the game fun at all. I think Keenan mentioned that in one of our previous episodes. I think probably the last one is that he had, done that, and then he thought it was fantastic, and it was really accurate. And someone said, "Yeah, but it's not fun." And I think you have to have that balance between suspension of disbelief and playability, and the attack of opportunity rules, regardless of what you think of them, are playable, and they aren't necessarily game and balancing, and they open up a lot of opportunities for different kinds of things to make the game interesting.
I think if I were making my own rule set, it would be action based, where you get so many actions a turn, and you can spend in certain places. You'd have not attack of opportunity, but an opportunity to attack. And if you spend one of your actions, you can do it, right? Yeah. And it wouldn't be for someone backing away. It would be more like someone stands up from being prone, because that was ridiculous to me. That if you run away, you get attacked, but if you stand up, you don't. Or drinking a potion, or something that would be like obviously something you'd have a lot of trouble doing would create an opportunity to attack, and then you could have mechanics based around that of like using your actions to do that kind of thing.
Kind of like in Nimble, right? Because Nimble, when your reaction options is to take an attack of opportunity if you want. But it's not a given. It's not like I must take an attack of opportunity every time somebody tries to run away.
One of the things that I did, which I think was an improvement personally, is that in 5e, there's basically one thing you can do with your reaction, and that's an attack of opportunity, unless you have some other ability, with like a magic spell or a class feature or something. But most characters will only be able to take that attack of opportunity. So I set up so that there's 4 default actions rather than just one. So there's actually like something you can do with it, right? And it also kind of solves the problem, because if you have so many more options, players are less likely to take that attack of opportunity because there's other strategic advantages, right? And one of the things I did actually was created a counterattack maneuver where you can just, if someone's hitting you and you're going to get hit regardless, you can just attack them back. And that was actually taken from Palladium, but it was also extremely popular as a combat maneuver in that game, to such a point where there's players that kind of like build their entire tactic around it. I've got a buddy that's like that, but it's, like having more options with your actions, I think is actually, kind of, you just address the problem with better game mechanics, I think.
Yeah. Which, I think that's a really, really good idea, actually, which kind of brings us to the reason it's a good idea is because of initiative order. And being able to do things off your turn will add a lot more engagement during battle, right?
Yes.
Like, that's my biggest problem with initiative is I tend to agree with Dungeon Craft that I think it is ridiculous that you go up, you say you're going to punch someone, and then you roll initiative and the guy punches you. That example is like just stuck in my mind because I've ran into that so many times, and it's always pissed me off every time it happens. Though I don't complain to my GMs people, so I didn't say anything. But it always kind of annoyed me. And when I GM, I actually just got rid of initiative now. I don't roll it. I don't use it. If someone goes and punch, I'm like, yeah, you attacked. And then depending on the situation, who's closest, who can react the fastest, I'll just go in that order. Or I just say who wants to go, and that's about it.
I'm kind of in the middle. Because like I have occasionally realized I erred. Like I had this one come up recently because like, like when somebody initiates combat, they should get a free shot on the bad guy. Like whoever said
go first. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they should go first. Like whoever shot that gun should be, like I'm gonna plug him, right? And then that guy should obviously go first, and then you would start the combat, and then roll your initiative. Like I like the idea of having an initiative order because I like the structure of it for running combat, and I also like, again, how that creates something that now you have special abilities you can add. Like removing a game mechanic reduces from a design standpoint, right? If you're on my side of it, every time you remove a game mechanic, you suddenly, now your potential options get thinner, and you have fewer things you can do. And there is that sweet spot between functionality and gameplay, and you need that functionality there's a point where adding this game mechanic adds so many more options to the game that don't necessarily slow it down. And I like having access to all those special abilities for game design. And for me, initiative is one of those areas where it has so much utility from a designer standpoint that, like, I don't really want to get rid of it.
Yeah, I get that, but I've played a lot of 5e, and it almost never comes up. I mean, no one has the skill initiative. Technically it's a skill in 5e. Yeah. No one actually has that skill. The only one who gets a bonus to it is the bard because of Jack of all trades, and and there's like, I think in all the games I've played, one person had an item that added to initiative, I think. Like, it's just, I get that it's a mechanic, but it's not a commonly used enhanced mechanic for game balance reasons, I think. So I don't know. I tend to not play with it, but I do see people who like it, and it also depends on your group. Some group needs structure, especially if they're not used to the game, and they need some type of structure of you go, right? And that's okay too. But most groups I play with, I don't.
If you have passive players or less assertive players, though, I think you may run into that problem where you need that initiative structure. Otherwise, somebody's going to get missed.
Yeah, or not missed, but they're always going to go last.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to say, like, with Monster of the Week, they don't have initiative. And honestly, when I read it, I was like, that's going to be a problem. And then we played it, and after the session was done, I realized, oh, yeah, I didn't use initiative.
But I will say, in those games we play, Marx, including Nimble, which doesn't really have initiative either, right? It does, but it's different. You notice the same people always go last, right? And the same people always go first, right?
Yeah. That's the problem. That is the problem with it. Yeah.
But that's the player. Because sometimes you get a player, those are probably the same players who will then go, it's your turn. I don't know what to do. Can I take my turn later?
Yeah. Okay. So on the subject of initiative, though, I want to say, like, that
I did like Dungeon Craft's idea. I've never tried it or anything, but I do like his idea where it's like, if you know right away what you want to do when it's your turn, you get a +2. I think that's a great motivation to get people to stay on top of it.
That's actually real good.
Yeah.
So when I was looking at the Shadowrun game years ago, I looked at the 5e, the 5th edition version. I don't know what they're doing right now, but they had this initiative system I thought was absolutely brilliant, and I kind of like wish that and a lot of times I wish I'd implemented it, even though it would just be too far away from basic 5e. But it was an interesting idea where you roll initiative and you're rolling like a certain number of dice, and you have a score that you get in. Like, let's say you roll a 5d6, I don't know, whatever it is they had, right? And you get a number out of that, right? So let's say 14 for 20. Let's say it's together around 30, right? 5d6 would give you 30, let's say. So every time you attack, you knock 10 off of your initiative score. And then whenever you have nothing left, then your turn's done. And whatever you do in that round, whether it's attack of opportunity or your primary attack or whatever it is, that's being ticking down your initiative, right? So it's like they kind of like build reflexes in a way into the initiative stat, kind of simultaneously.
Funny.
Yeah, and I mean, there is a complexity to it, but it's no more complex than the other system. Once you get used to it, it kind of goes very quickly.
Yeah.
But I like the elegance of that because there's a structure of like how you build your character to get this, like the higher initiative numbers. And your average character is going to get 2 attacks out of that, but you could get 3 or even 4 potentially, depending upon how good you roll. And so I thought that was an interesting way of handling how many attacks you get, as well as, like turn orders and all kinds of that stuff. But it just, I every time I think about initiative, I keep coming back to that rule, and I think, wow, what a brilliant way to do it. unless you guys disagree.
Well, Ruin Quest has strike ranks, and that reminds me of that because they're trying to simulate how like certain weapons can recover faster. Attack, like you get a big old broadsword against someone with a rapier or something, you could probably whack a few times between his sword. And I think that's really cool, and it's different than it's not exactly what you're saying, but it has a similar way of knocking down the strike rank as you do moves. But when I read that, I'm just like, more math.
Exactly.
More stuff. It's like, I just did Monster Week, I was fine. I don't know if I need this.
Well, but it's interesting because it means that like the player that goes, that rolls higher obviously goes first, and then he will attack more frequently, or she. But what you're saying reminds me of this experience in Emerald City one time, because so this friend I go to shows with, a buddy of his shows up, and this is like the annoying friend, right? That is always very very larger than life personality. But the guy was going to the Star Wars lightsaber dueling event at the con, and he was talking about this girl that kept kicking his Tyrell half his size, a little girl, and he's like, he was always going on about like, I don't mind that she beat me, that's fine, she's got more skill, but do you have to hit me a second time? It's like she was so fast that like he got one swing and then she went tap tap, and it was the fact that she could hit him twice for every one hit he could do was like what he found kind of weirdly humiliating.
I mean, it could simulate that if you want that kind of simulation of tactical combat, like in martial arts, for example. You could throw a jab or say a cross. You could do a speed version of it where it's not as much power, but you can more likely to hit because you're whipping out fast. Or something that's got more power, but it's more likely. It's like a difference between a half beat and a quarter beat or something. Where you can do that minutia with that kind of system if that's what you want. So.
And in full contact actual fighting, he probably would have had an advantage because her quick hits couldn't have done enough damage, and he'd only need one. So
if he landed, then he'd So.
I do agree with Dungeon Craft. I think if I had to do initiative, I'd probably use people's passive, not the active at this point, and just have it be kind of static. I find that even rolling it is kind of a bother. Even on Nimble, which does initiative very differently, I actually hate that. That's like the I don't hate it, but it's the least favorite part of that game is the initiative. I think it's weird.
Big thing is hate.
Hate it. But it slows down the game. You're going, okay, what'd you roll? And it's all just to see how many actions you get on the first turn. I don't know. I'd almost rather do traditional initiative at that point.
But
go ahead, Marx.
One other thing I want to make sure I mentioned when we were talking about initiative, and one thing I like, but has its pros and cons, is in Call of Cthulhu. What they do is they base initiative based on whatever your deck score is, and it's just a static number, and it's just like, so you could write it down, and then all you have to do is plug in the threat wherever they're at, and then you're ready to go. Boom, you can just go.
That's what Dungeon Craft actually said. That he said just use their decks.
And it flows pretty well overall. And you still could do like Julie's character had a quick draw talent, so when she had her gun, when she was going to pull her gun out, she'd get a big bonus, like a plus 50 or something. And so you have certain feats. It's a D100 system, No, it's D12. It's D20 with a plus 50. She's the god of cowboys. So you still have where certain feats, traits, or talents can be used to do that, but you have this quick list because what kills me a lot is whenever you're going, ooh, this monster comes out. All right, everybody, roll initiative now. And then after 10 minutes, okay, we figured out what order we're going to be in. It's always a fight to try to make that as smooth as possible.
And for me, it's like it's never been an issue because like I literally have my list on my notepad. I go, okay, you done, and then it's like, I keep it really quick, and it's never been an issue. It never even occurred to me. It's like it's interesting
to roll though, right? To do this in the beginning,
but it's less of a bother in real life.
I drill my players to do it. Like I just make them do it. The thing that's interesting about these kind of discussions is like it never occurs to you sometimes as a problem until you hear somebody complain about it, right? Because you hear. Like that one thing with Baron DeRop and Professor DM, they were talking about it, and they both were like, yeah, down with initiative. But it's like, I have been doing this for over 35 years. It never once occurred to me it was a problem, and I just didn't let it be one. And I just, boom, boom, let's get to the action, right? And And so it's like, that's how I always run it. And I just start calling people, and then they give me their initiative. If they're not ready, I go on to the next one, and then I come back to the person, but it's like, I just get it done fast, and it's just, okay, it's fine, And so, I mean, it is an interesting discussion, but I think it's kind of a non-issue, It's like, yeah.
I think more important is off-turn actions. For sure, that adds way more to the game than figuring out initiative does.
Well, yeah, I think that's what an action point system like DC 20, Nimble, whatever else, Mithra says something like that. Whenever you can do reactions, that encourages teamwork and stuff, and that's where D&D kind of struggles a bit.
And what he was talking about earlier too, with his
Well, I mean,
because you have players who of a traditional D&D phase, they know I'm out for 5 to 10 minutes, and unless they really care about what's happening, they're probably not paying attention now.
Well, that's why you got to keep it fast and keep everybody engaged. And I actually think that if it slows down, that's a failure on the part of us as a GMs, and we have to keep it faster. We got to speed it up.
I think it depends on the players too. Like if you have really good, if you have players that need structure for sure, and if you have, and I think some players' initiative actually makes it a lot faster, but and other times you have players that are really engaged, and they actually get a certain amount of tactics enjoyment in the tactics of choosing when to go. So they can be like, I'm going to like go now because it makes sense for me, since you could. And for those people, having no initiative is actually good. So taking away like trying to be efficient, just from the idea of tactics and stuff, letting people go when they want can be good, but you definitely have a certain type of player for that too, right?
I mean, just for a no initiative system, you just got to make sure no one gets forgotten. So
that is the most important thing. Whether you use an initiative or not, you have to make sure everybody gets their fair turn.
You just got to make sure that once a complete round is gone, everyone's done. At least you've asked someone, "Are you doing something?" So they don't sit there and go, "I wish I could do something, but the GM will not call upon me."
I also like if people have a plan, right? If they want to do teamwork effects, right? It doesn't matter to me whether the RPG rules accommodate this or not. Like if somebody wants to do something like that, I find a way to make it work, and I help them make it work, right? Yeah. Because that's essential to their enjoyment of the game. Like if they got, we got attack together, we're doing that double attack where we both, do the X / from Chrono Trigger or whatever it is, right? Like they can do those things. And the mechanics are there, but like as a GM, you have to accommodate it and help them do it. Because again, like not everybody's going to be really drilled into the rules, and like if they have to, somebody's got to delay their initiative. Okay, let's do that. You just make it work for them so that they can have that fun and make it as dynamic and enjoyable. Keep it moving.
Absolutely. Do you guys want to try to fly through the rest?
Sure. Yeah, I was watching the time too. This might be a two-parter, Greg.
The next one is paralysis. I don't have much to say on this one. Professor Dungeoncraft doesn't do it at all to players. The other guy who was with him seemed to think it's okay.
Rob.
I personally avoid it usually, but there are some interesting places to where just the threat of attacking someone while they're under paralysis and the massive amount of damage you'll do to them because of that adds a lot to the game and even makes the person who's paralyzed engaged, right?
Yeah,
so it depends.
I'm kind of in the middle on this one because I've had times when somebody's been paralyzed and it's like, all I've done is like ruined it for that person. Yeah. But that's also was back when we were teenagers. Today, when people attach it with like more mature viewpoint, these things go a little differently, right?
I agree. And if you're under threat, like really grave threat, I think paralysis can be a very good thing. If you're in a rock'em sock'em pop'em, everybody has a lot of hit point situation, like I would avoid it because it's just not going to be fun then.
Well, he also hated the stun condition, and I'm feeling like I think stun has more place like in the game, like because you have these situations where ultimately the player the player characters are supposed to beat up on the bad guy, and they frequently are coming in from a position of like they have even if the bad guy's more powerful, they technically have an advantage because of how many attacks they have, right?
Action economy.
That's what I was struggling for. But yes, so I think that having like stun effects in the possession of the bad guy, where somebody gets delayed for one round, that isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think paralyzing somebody for the whole encounter is probably a bad idea, but the threat of it, like maybe make the save really easy, and there would have to be a way to unparalyze, because like if you've got a spellcaster in the party, there have to be like, it would be very smart for them to have some sort of a spell to help like lift those effects, like a negate magic or something, or a restoration or something.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. And I just think you need to have stakes when you use paralysis. Otherwise, you're just going away for a bit with no stakes. But
yeah. I don't have any problem with these. Remember when your character got paralyzed, Greg? And
nope.
Call of Cthulhu?
Oh, yes. Oh, God. Oh, yes. And the porta potty. I don't want to remember that.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Well,
so moving on.
Yeah. So the one point I think, though, that does need to be mentioned here on this topic is that he mentioned like a friend of his got paralyzed and he went off. He just ran to the store and came back.
That's why you don't play Pathfinder.
Yeah, and his character was still paralyzed and the fight was still going on.
That's a whole different thing. That's your rounds are too long, probably.
Yeah, right, and so we we clearly know that nobody in the party had any plans to resolve that situation either. So it's like, that's I think there's a lot of guilt to go around the table, but I think that the GM needs to be like, as a GM, you need to be prepared to deal with those sorts of situations. You need to have a game plan, and if it reduces someone's fun, but they'd rather just leave because they're not playing anymore, you need to reevaluate how you're handling it.
Here's how you handle it: you get rid of attack of opportunities. You let the monsters go when they feel like going, and you have them always go for the paralyzed person. You'll find that paralysis becomes way more fun when you do it that way.
Yes, and then the game mechanics automatically kill that character who's paralyzed.
Yes.
So.
But no, I'm actually serious. You should, as a DM, you should go for that paralyzed person. As a DM, if you paralyze someone, you should try to go for them and really hurt them, because it actually adds a lot of stakes to it, and it makes it worthwhile becoming unparalyzed. And you should make it possible to become unparalyzed.
I still remember in Baldur's Gate 3, there's the undead when you run into those ghasts, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And I was, the first time I encountered them, and they just like slaughtered my whole group, and I was like, no, because I started getting paralyzed, and they're just coming at you and mauling you. That was very memorable.
I will say, however, that this can be like kind of like harkening back to our How to Handle Boss Fights episode, right? This does potentially give you an answer. Okay, I pointed at the screen that nobody can tell I'm doing, but like this does potentially give us, thank you, Greg, a slight answer to some of those issues, because like the player that gets paralyzed, hopefully it's only going to be temporary, right? But if there's this paralysis, it means now they're not vulnerable to this bad guy, and now instead of attacking the villain, the other members of the party would then have to defend their friend and get them out of trouble.
Yep,
right,
exactly.
And so like the real problem with the action economy of the boss fight is that the basic problem you have to solve is, how do you divide up the player's attacks so the whole group is not focusing on this one character? And that's maybe one potential way to address that situationally. Of course, you don't do it every time, but that is one of the possible solutions of dividing up the attention that way. And it's certainly going to feel very tense for the player.
Exactly.
But again, don't do that to the guy that's going to storm out and be angry.
Yeah. Don't do it to that guy, and don't do it to the guy in the back who is just going to miss his turn, and that's all that's going to happen.
And don't do it to the character that's anchoring the entire strategy, and the whole encounter falls apart. So because you're paralyzed. Death saves. The only thing I do different with death saves, I'm not a huge fan of how easy they are. I thought that Dungeon Craft's method was really cool, actually. I might actually end up using that. It is interesting.
The one thing I'll say is, what I've always done is never show what the person rolled on their death save. Don't let anyone know what they roll. Let it roll private. They can send it to you privately, or just keep it to themselves. And so when they go and heal them, they say, sorry, nothing happens. Sorry, you didn't pay attention to the fact they were on the ground. well,
if the other players know what the rolls are, then they will know
how much time they have.
I actually know this guy, that great player. I respect him immensely, but he has this attitude that I don't really agree with, where it's like, heal after the fight. And I'm like, what? And it's like, no, the guy dropped. It's not my problem. I'm going to take out the bad guy. It's like, but he maybe died. But then this guy knows he's a mathlete, right? So he knows mathematically what he can get away with, right? So
right.
I'm sure there's a little metagaming going on there with him. But like, it is. I think the issue is not the death save so much as the healing yo-yo, because like, the people like 1 point of healing gets them back up. And so I instituted a new condition where you take an injury penalty every time you drop. So
I think we talked about that on the injury episode.
Yeah, we have. So you drop, you come back, you get a -1 to everything, and it's cumulative. And these injuries don't heal very quickly. So you can have it be, you can be so messed up that you just can't keep going. Yeah, your hit points are full, but you're never going to hit anything,
Yeah.
And I also have a deal where like we have negative hit points. I mean, I do have the death save, but it's more to determine if you stabilize on your own and stop suffering additional damage. Because like I've got a negative hit point formula where you can drop below 0 and you take bleed damage.
Yeah.
And then the death save is only there to determine if you stop bleeding.
Yeah. No, that's a good idea. The home rule always did was if you go down, you get a level of exhaustion, which is similar to what you said, but yours is probably more long lasting. But what about you, Marx? What do you think?
Yeah, especially new exhaustion, because that would be like a -2 to all your rolls and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about doing that, but also in Tales of the Valiant, they have an optional rule, which I think I would consider trying. I might try it out with another group we're playing Tales of the Valiant, where they have injuries, like more specific injuries, like you got a broken rib or whatever, and they give you certain mechanic effect and give injuries out whenever you hit 0 and go up. So they have other things too, like if you fail a saving throw by more than 5 points, you could get an injury, or if there's a call shot, you get an injury.
Yeah.
So
see, I like that stuff a lot because it's just that healing yo-yo where you're healed, now you're fine, there's no penalty. I mean, that's if anything about 5e is deserving of criticism, it's that.
Yeah. I went down 5 times in one battle once, and I ended the battle being up. And we made fun of like the whole basement we were in was just soaked in blood. I had like 500% of my body weight in blood all over the ground.
See, one of the things I also talk about in my book is the fact that blood loss is a real issue. Like, you've been healed, but the healing doesn't restore your bodily fluids, and there is a point where you could be, because like you take a guy who died of starvation, you resurrect them, they're still starving to death. You haven't changed anything, right? And same thing with dehydration. Like they're still going to die of dehydration again. And so and it's like blood loss. You basically, it straight up says you cannot resurrect or bring back a person that died of blood loss. You have to. They need that blood to live. So if somebody bled out and they are dead. It doesn't matter what you do. And these things
unless
should be
you pour your blood into their mouth and they become vampire.
Sure. But I mean, like, with modern medical technology, there may be a way to address these things, but like, you still have to have a way to, like, there need to be limits to this stuff for sure.
You could at least make it a check to see if they could, do the right types of magics to make that work. Yeah.
You just don't want people from a narrative standpoint bounce up and down with no effect, because that's anticlimactic.
Unfortunately, rules as written in 5e, that's kind of the most efficient way to use your healing spells, which is a little unfortunate.
Yeah,
but it is what it is.
And I actually don't mind death saves because, like, it's a criticism for some people, but the other side, and I understand, like, it just takes you out of the fun, which I guess. But like, the thing is in real life, you could be on the ground, you could be shot, stabbed, whatever. You're on the ground, you're seriously injured, but you could potentially be that way for an hour, even without medical attention, before you die, right? And like, these game mechanics don't account for this. The fact that sometimes it takes hours for someone to actually die, and there is time to get to the hospital, and the mechanics as they are, you're dead in seconds if you drop. And so,
it's not simulating reality. It's simulating whatever kind of genre story you're doing, right?
But
it's like when people get knocked out in movies and they're like out for an hour. It's like, that would be brain damage in real life.
Exactly. And being choked out, and it's like, okay, well, 5 seconds, he's down.
I would use Nimble's rules for this, which I think does it really well, which is you still get one action. If you do a 5e, you could basically act like you're slowed. So you could take a move, an action, or a bonus action, but only one. And every time you do it, it actually makes it worse for you. So you could do one of those things, but you would take an automatic death save loss by doing that. So you can stay in the game, but it comes with a cost.
Yeah, they take
I
wounds,
agree.
but their wounds don't cripple you per se, but you only get 6 wounds and you're dead. So,
well, I'm also a huge fan of a situation where like you're going to die and you should be allowed to, which is similar to what Professor DM was talking about, but like having a thing where like you're dead, you should be allowed to have like one last heroic, F you to the bad guy.
Daggerheart has something like that too.
Yeah. But you can do that stuff. I mean, I really think it should be allowed. Like, okay, well, I'm dead anyways. I'm jumping on him with that hand grenade and giving him a hug.
Right?
Yeah.
I think we killed that one. Get it? And then
natural ones. Okay.
Natural ones. This one's very simple for me. If someone rolls a natural 1, I have them roll a d20, 5 or less, something bad happens. Otherwise, just a miss or whatever.
I have a die that on my desk it's ancient, it's dirty, and like I just made it, but it's got it's got a bunch of fumble results that on there. So we roll that for some games. I've got a fumble chart in my own game, in my core book, that I use a lot. But what was weird about that whole thing was like Professor DM was talking like this is some weird new idea.
Yeah, I thought everyone homebrews this.
No, we've been doing this since the 70s. It's been a thing. It is a thing. It's been a thing forever. Everybody does it. I don't get why
everyone has slightly different rules, but everyone does something similar.
Everybody homebrews, but most games I think have a fumble rule of some kind.
I do think a natural 1 always being catastrophic is very unfair in 5e to martial classes. So I don't do that at least. But
I disagree. Most of the really good laughs have come from this exact scenario.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But like then you should make magic users roll something whenever they cast a spell, though.
Yeah. So we had a situation doing a martial arts game, and there was this ambush that occurs. So one of the players gets up and goes, "Yeah, let's go," and he's by himself facing down these 3 assassins, and then the rest of the party, they get up. They were all in these alcoves with these curtains down.
And power went out. Well, thank you for joining everyone.
He wrote a natural 1.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Hello.
Okay, so for anyone, if anyone's, I don't know if we're going to cut. Are we cutting?
We have to make a noise. We have to make a noise for when it starts back up. So
yeah. Okay. Okay, so I just lost my power.
I'm gonna keep all that in just for fun
for the second time. So, anyways,
what was that story you were about to tell us? For
right? Yes.
Wait, first start where you left off with your hands. Like it was like this.
Yeah, like this. Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, everybody else gets out of bed, out of these alcoves, and there was a roll that had to be made. Right? Somebody fumbles. The circumstances trigger an attack roll that ends up resulting in a natural 20, which then triggers another situation where you have to roll, which creates a fumble, resulting in another natural 20 and then another fumble in that order. And the entire party end up wrapped up inside of all those sheets. And while there's one player is by himself against all the assassins. It was, it had to be there, obviously. But fumbles are awesome, and we should use them as much as we can.
Yeah. I agree. I like them. There's still some of the fumbles with stories with like say I play with my nieces and nephews with Kristra, and they always bring up those fumbles whenever they're almost knocked down to death saves, and when they have fumbles, those are some of the biggest stories they like to bring up over
totally.
and over again.
And it's actually so significant that I don't know why you would ever remove a fumble rule from any game. And I actually baked it into my game mechanics just to make sure people had to use them, because like the idea that a 1 is just a 1 and you modify it, but it's just a 1. Like, no, no, a fumble is a fumble. That's part of what makes these things enjoyable. It's part of that. You want that unexpected thing that you can't ever anticipate. That's why this is such a dynamic and popular entertainment medium, because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know that it, like, you don't have 47 minutes to solve it, right? Like
I would do that too. I would do it just like that too if you had to cast spells like in Shadow Dark. If you had to roll for every spell as well. Yeah. But because right now in D&D 5e, the spellcasters get the cast and the other people usually roll. And then the marshals have to roll.
But you can't apply a fumble to the saving throws.
Yeah, but that's the other person rolling. So if you're a spellcaster, you're completely safe because you make everyone else roll, and then the marshals have to go up and roll.
Only if their spells and attack spell, they have to roll.
Well,
you
you know what you could do is
a lot of them.
You could let people use their inspiration to force somebody else to re-roll. It doesn't have to just be them. Maybe you could I use my inspiration to make him re-roll that saving throw. I think that's cool. Because obviously it makes them more of an opportunity, like they could win again or give another chance. It has to be against an enemy. Obviously, you're fighting directly. You couldn't do, I'm going to give it to my ally. But those opportunities to alter that condition, that's interesting. Yeah.
Well, there's that spell that does it that everyone hates that I don't hate. I actually like it. Can't remember what it's called. Something.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, first level spell that makes a person re-roll when they succeed at something.
Yeah, we had one. We were playing the TMNT game on Saturday, and then one of the guys does a slow spell and slows down both of these bad guys, and someone's like, "You just Baywatch them." So,
yeah.
Hey, I think we have an episode, guys.
Silvery Barbs. Sorry.
All right, sounds good. And you guys can check out the episode we're talking about at the link. I'll put a link in the description. All right, let us know what you think. What do you think of those? Initiative, attacks opportunity, death saves, natural one, etc. Do you guys homebrew any changes in your games, or is there a game system you play that does it just the way you love it and want to share it with us? Let us know in the comments. So, thanks everybody for watching, and until next time, don't
keep fumbling,
and don't be afraid to homebrew these rules. By the way,
homebrew it.
Yeah, homebrew.
Make sure you homebrew Woody's game.
Yeah, please. As long as you're buying the book, I don't care.
All right,
and make your rules cool. Homebrew it, man.
Homebrew.
When the dice roll high, we touch the sky, but when they crash, it's a bad